name is Candace Lukasik. I'm an assistant professor of religion at Mississippi State University and a faculty lead fellow at the Crown Center for Middle East Studies at Brandeis University. And my new book is entitled Martyrs and Migrants, Coptic Christians and the Persecution Politics of the U.S. Empire, out with NYU Press in March of this year. And the book really thinks ethnographically with Coptic migrants between Egypt and the United States, and considers how that migration intersects with American religious and political interest in global Christian persecution. So my current book project and what I'll be presenting at CURA focuses on the possibilities of Christian rootedness in the Middle East among Assyrians and Chaldeans, particularly after ISIS and the Iraq War. And so the book is really trying to think about indigenous perspectives in the Middle East and how we can think about Christians in the Middle East through an indigenous lens. Is that possible? And so the project is really trying to get ethnographically to consider that question. So what inspired me for this book in terms of like the conversations that I had in the Egyptian context were that I was hearing a lot about Copts in Egypt who had family members in the United States. So like on the opposite side of the lens, obviously I was seeing a lot more new Coptic families come to like churches across the US, like from Hayward, California, where I was attending liturgy, to Buffalo, New York, and places in the New York, New Jersey area. But on the Egyptian side of things, every single person that I've talked to, even from 2007, from the first time I went to Egypt, had family in the United States. So that has always been a question of like, what is this migration doing to Coptic religious identity, Coptic religious traditions? And so the book is really trying to tackle that, like the political and religious stakes of these migrations to the United States. How is that impacting on Coptic life in Egypt, as well as the United States, and globally, I would say too. I mean, I think to answer this question, I would say like, what is most exciting to me as like a interdisciplinary scholar, because I think that a lot of my work, just because my projects have led me to think about like scaling. So whether it's in anthropology, religious studies, Middle East studies, American studies, even a lot of my work is trying to think across disciplinary boundaries. And what I find kind of exciting in this current moment is an attention across those fields to questions of power and particularly empire, both in American religious studies, but across the board, like, you know, there's anthropology, there's, you know, thinking in anthropology on empire and ethnography and how to kind of think through these kind of different scales through ethnography. So that's what's really exciting to me in this current moment, is that there are certain concepts like empire, I think also a rethinking of diaspora that is exciting across these different fields. And that is what is getting me excited and inspired as well. This is a great question. It hasn't been difficult because the project really built off of the first book, meaning that I met a lot of Assyrians, Chaldeans through my work, particularly in Washington, D.C., among religious freedom advocates and folks that were working on Christians in the Middle East. And so I started meeting a lot of these folks that were thinking about Christianity in post-ISIS Iraq, and the possibilities of its presence really in the aftermath of violence. So that's really where the project kind of took off from. So it kind of is tethered to this first book in many ways, but takes a new course into thinking about like presence and Christian presence in the Middle East, and not necessarily thinking about migration and diaspora. So it's kind of going back to the region. So it's been great to be at CURA this year, especially because it is such an interdisciplinary space. And I think a lot of us come to that space with a particular understanding of religion and religious. And over the past, few months, it's been great to kind of think more critically and comparatively about religion, and with such great colleagues that really read so closely each paper. So I'm really looking forward to my presentation and to getting feedback. So.